The morning sun rose gently over a quiet town where narrow streets wound between old houses and small shops. In one modest home lived Daniel, a man in his early 30s with tired eyes and a hopeful heart that had been tested many times. He worked as a delivery assistant at a local warehouse, a job that paid little but demanded much. Every day, he woke before dawn, put on the same worn jacket, and stepped into the world with a belief that effort would one day turn into reward. Daniel lived with his mother, Miriam, a calm and patient woman whose strength came from years of silent endurance. Since Daniel's father passed away, she had been his anchor. Each morning, she prepared simple tea and bread, offering quiet encouragement without many words. She believed deeply that life unfolded according to a wisdom humans could not always see. On one particular morning, Daniel received troubling news. The warehouse manager announced that several workers would be laid off by the end of the month. As Daniel stood among his co-workers, the sound of machines humming around him, his chest tightened. He had no savings, no backup plan, and no idea how he would support his mother if he lost his job. The rest of the day passed in a blur of heavy thoughts and slow footsteps. That evening, as Daniel walked home, he noticed an elderly man struggling to push a cart filled with books near the roadside. The man's hands trembled, and the cart kept tilting toward the curb. Despite his own worries, Daniel stepped forward and helped steady the load. The man smiled warmly and introduced himself as Mr. Kareem, a retired school teacher who now sold old books to earn a small income. They walked together for a short distance, and Mr. Kareem spoke gently about life, about how events often appear harsh before revealing their purpose. Daniel listened politely, though his heart was too heavy to fully absorb the words. When they parted, Mr. Kareem handed Daniel a small, worn book and insisted he keep it. Daniel tried to refuse, but the old man only smiled and said it might be useful one day. Days passed, and the fear Daniel felt only grew stronger. At work, rumors spread, and faces became tense. One afternoon, Daniel was officially informed that his position would end in 2 weeks. The words echoed in his mind as he walked home under a gray sky, the world feeling unusually silent. At home, Daniel finally shared the news with his mother. Miriam listened without interruption, her expression calm but thoughtful. When Daniel finished, she placed her hand over his and said softly that life often closes one door to guide us toward another. Her words offered comfort, but uncertainty still filled the room. That night, unable to sleep, Daniel noticed the small book Mr. Kareem had given him lying on the table. He opened it absent-mindedly and found it filled with short reflections and stories about patience, effort, and unseen blessings. One line stood out to him, speaking of how seeds grow in darkness long before they break the soil. Daniel closed the book slowly, feeling a quiet shift within himself. The next morning, instead of sinking into despair, Daniel decided to act. He remembered how much he enjoyed organizing and explaining things to others, a skill he often used to help new workers at the warehouse. He began visiting small shops and schools in the area, asking if they needed part-time help, tutoring, or assistance with deliveries. Many doors closed politely, but a few remained open just long enough to give him hope. One afternoon, Daniel returned to the street where he had met Mr. Kareem. He found the elderly man arranging his books under the shade of a tree. They spoke again, and Daniel shared his worries honestly. Mr. Kareem listened carefully, then mentioned that a nearby community center was looking for someone to help organize educational materials and assist children after school. He offered to introduce Daniel. Within days, Daniel found himself standing in a bright room filled with shelves of books and children's drawings on the walls. The work was simple but meaningful. He helped students with reading, organized donated books, and assisted teachers with basic tasks. Though the pay was modest, Daniel felt something he had not felt in a long time, a sense of purpose. As weeks turned into months, Daniel's dedication became noticeable. Parents appreciated his patience, and the children trusted him. The community center eventually offered him a permanent role coordinating learning programs. It paid more than his old job and allowed him to grow in ways he never expected. One evening, Daniel walked home under a sky painted with soft orange light. He realized that losing his warehouse job, which once felt like a disaster, had led him to a path where his abilities truly mattered. At home, he shared the news with his mother, whose eyes filled with quiet pride. She reminded him gently that not every blessing arrives wrapped in comfort. Daniel continued visiting Mr. Kareem, often helping him sell books or simply listening to his stories. The small, worn book remained on Daniel's table, its pages now familiar and comforting. He understood that life's hardships were not always punishments, but lessons guiding him toward growth. Years later, Daniel would look back on that difficult time not with bitterness, but with gratitude. He learned that judging life too soon can blind us to the blessings forming beneath the surface. Some answers take time, some roads begin with loss, and some miracles arrive disguised as setbacks. And in that understanding, Daniel found peace, purpose, and a quiet confidence in the journey ahead.